Is a tomato a fruit or a vegetable? This question has stumped many for years. The answer isn't as straightforward as you might think, and has been the subject of a fierce debate that's been simmering for centuries. It all boils down to your perspective. Are you looking from a botanical standpoint or a culinary one? From a botanical perspective, a tomato is considered a fruit because it develops from the ovary of a flower and contains seeds. But if you're a chef, you might argue that tomatoes are vegetables because they're typically used in savory dishes and not sweet ones. This video will delve into these perspectives, exploring the fascinating world of fruits and vegetables and their characteristics. We'll also take a closer look at the humble tomato and try to settle this age-old debate once and for all. So let's dive into the characteristics of fruits and vegetables and see where tomatoes fit in. It's all about the characteristics, so what defines a fruit and what defines a vegetable? Well, let's dive into the world of botany for a moment. Botanically speaking, a fruit is the mature ovary of a flowering plant, typically containing seeds. When a flower is pollinated, the fertilized ovule develops into a seed, while the surrounding ovary swells to form a fruit. This fruit serves as a vessel, protecting the seeds and aiding in their dispersal. Apples, oranges, and yes, even things like pumpkins and avocados all fall into the botanical category of fruit. Now let's contrast this with vegetables. Vegetables, on the other hand, can be pretty much any other part of the plant that's not a fruit. This includes roots, stems, or leaves. We're talking about things like carrots, which are roots, celery, which are stems, and lettuce, which are leaves. However, it's not always black and white. Some plants blur the lines. Take rhubarb, for example. It's often used similar to a fruit in culinary contexts, like pies and jams, but it's actually a vegetable, as it's the plant stem we're eating. And then there's corn. Is it a grain because we eat the seeds, or a vegetable because we eat it fresh? This brings us back to our original question. Where do tomatoes fall on this spectrum? Tomatoes, like fruits, develop from the ovary of a flower and contain seeds. But in the culinary world, we often treat them like vegetables, incorporating them into salads and savory dishes. Are they fruits masquerading as vegetables? Or are they vegetables hiding an inner fruity nature? The answer might surprise you, and it all comes down to perspective. Are we looking at this from a botanical view or a culinary one? The line between fruits and vegetables may seem clear-cut at first, but as we see with the tomato, it can often be blurred. So, where do tomatoes fall on this spectrum? Let's investigate. Now that we know the characteristics of fruits and vegetables, where does the tomato fit in? Let's start by examining a tomato through the lens of botany. In the botanical world, a fruit is the mature ovary of a flowering plant, typically containing seeds. And guess what? The tomato ticks both these boxes. It forms from a flower and houses seeds within its juicy walls. So, from a strictly botanical perspective, the tomato is unequivocally a fruit. But let's not be too hasty. Let's step into the kitchen now, where things get a tad more complicated. When we cook, we often categorize our ingredients not by their botanical definitions, but by their taste profiles and the roles they play in our dishes. Tomatoes, with their savory flavor, are often grouped with vegetables. They are used in salads, stews, and sauces, much like their vegetable counterparts. They're rarely used in desserts or sweet dishes, which is often the realm of fruits. This dual identity of the tomato often causes a bit of a stir. But it's what makes the tomato unique, a culinary chameleon of sorts. It straddles both fruit and vegetable worlds, showing us that nature doesn't always fit neatly into our man-made categories. So, is a tomato a fruit or a vegetable? The answer is, it's both, depending on the perspective you're looking from. And let's wrap up what we've learned about tomatoes. We've explored the great tomato debate and discovered that tomatoes straddle two worlds. From a botanical perspective, they're fruits, bearing seeds and growing from the flower of the tomato plant. However, in culinary terms, they're vegetables, adding a savory note to our dishes. So, tomatoes are a fascinating blend of fruit and vegetable, depending on how you look at it. So, the next time someone asks you if a tomato is a fruit or a vegetable, you now have the perfect answer. It's all about perspective.